This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. Hey, what's up, and welcome to Commentary, where I react to your hot takes that you leave under my videos. It's time for me to answer back. It's time for me to lash back at y'all. First video we're gonna be reacting to comments from is from the real expectations for the Browns defense. I love doing these kind of videos because it, like, for some of these things with the Browns defense, I think it's important to put them in numbers, because we can get lost in the sauce a lot with this defense, as the last couple of years have showed us. This dude says, "Hey Q, I hope your expectations are just the floor. I think the defense will be top 10 in some categories." That's literally what I did in the video. They're top 10 in some, they're top 15 in others. I think they're gonna be like, the goal for this defense should be to be competent. If you get any higher than that, great. But my hope for this defense is to be competent. I'm not going to let my imagination run too wild this year, because I saw what they were last year. John says, "Love this video. Hope to see a follow-up in the season. Great work, Q." Yeah, so I'll absolutely be doing follow-ups of this during the season, because I think that measuring these things up to the expectation and then having actual numbers to say that's why I think they're living up to expectations could be good for just the actual dialogue when it comes to the Browns, right? Because sometimes I'll be like, hey, this defense is living up to my expectations, but I'm actually measuring it against this abstract feeling that I had, and it's not really easy to demonstrate why I feel that way to the audience. So this would be a better way of being like, hey, if you feel like the defense is not a catastrophic failure, like, some Browns fans are going to try to make it seem like, no matter what happens this year, you have these things to back it up to go, hey, we thought this was reasonable before the season, that they could reach these goals, and we thought that these would be acceptable goals to reach, and they are reaching them. You know what I mean? So that'd be great to do in there. And also, like, I think people are forgetting, this defense needs to walk before it runs. Time has allowed us to forget how awful this defense was, how comedically bad at times this defense was at times, right? And some might fool us to be able to, like, tell us, oh, well, there were flashes in it. No, man. I remember watching that defense. It was a miserable mess of a defense. So yes, while I think Jim Schwartz can be good, yes, while I think the roster is good, it would take a miracle for this defense to be top 5 after what I saw last year. There are things that need to be unlearned. There are bad habits that are going to need to be unlearned during these games. There are mental lapses that are just going to happen because these dudes were in a defense that was that bad last year. Like, the amount of ground that you have to cover to get to where some people are putting this defense, and some people are putting them as far as top 5, it's insurmountable. So I just feel comfortable just saying this. The defense needs to walk before they can run. Please allow it to walk before it can run, because I feel like we're going from, like, one of the worst defenses in the league to people legitimately expecting that this is going to be a top 5 defense and challenge with the 2000 Ravens. And I think that's just setting everybody up for failure when we do that. Fans, players, everybody, coaches as well. Is the AFC North actually good? Mr. McFly said, one thing you touched on that no one else seems to understand is that the Ravens have been plagued with momentum-ending injuries for the last several seasons. They could be anywhere from 12-win team to a 6-win team, depending on who stays healthy. The other thing I would like to add to that is I don't think people understand the amount of changes that the Ravens are going through, especially on the offensive side of the ball, and how that might affect things, especially at the quarterback position. And I think it's because we lack such a nuance and an ability to have an intelligent conversation about Lamar Jackson, because there seems to be, like, this dedicated group of trolls that are dedicated to being stupid about Lamar and saying stuff like he can't throw, he's a running back. And that dilutes the conversation about him to the point where we can't actually talk about what he's good at as a quarterback and what he's not good at as a passing quarterback. And he has strengths as a pocket quarterback. He has weaknesses like as a pocket quarterback, like anybody else. But since we have to keep arguing, can he throw the ball or not, when he's clearly demonstrated he can throw the ball, we don't really talk about what his strengths and weaknesses are in the pocket. In a top mocking system would not be what I would imagine would benefit Lamar Jackson as a passer, because Lamar Jackson's really good at the RPOs. He's really good at the timing stuff. He's really good at the intermediate stuff and the play action stuff, right? Like, he's somebody that I think would actually do well in the Shanahan system. But then you put him in this, wild, wild west air raid that Todd Monken liked to run when he was in the NFL. And I don't know if that's the best system for him as a pocket passer. I think there are systems you could put him in where he would thrive as a passer. He played in a pro style at college and he thrived. I think there are a bunch of systems that he could thrive in. I think this is a system that I don't think he's going to thrive in, because while he's not a bad pocket passer like some people like to act like he is, he's actually a pretty good one. But his skill set is where his skill set is in the pocket. And I think people are ignoring that because, again, the level of conversation we have about Lamar Jackson is very dumb, right? We can't let go of the fact that he's good at running the football and act like he can't throw the ball too because he can run the football. Like, so since that conversation is so dumb, we don't have these other conversations about the Ravens, which allows us to get to a point where we see Todd Monken and nobody wants to have a conversation about whether that fits his strengths as a passer or not. And I think that's a real question for the Ravens. Now, again, Lamar can get in that system and be fine. But I think there is a question, right? And I think it's a fair question to ask. It's not unquestioned. Even Raven fans are asking that question, but nobody nationally or even in the local sphere is really asking that question. Chili Dog says, the hype around Kenny Pickett reminds me of the hype of Baker Mayfield in 2019. It's not that crazy. That like Steeler fans are acting like Browns fans were in 2019, sure. But like the hype around Baker Mayfield after 2018 was national. I think we forgot that. I think we've chosen to forget that as Browns fans for whatever reason. But no, the Kenny Pickett hype's not really national. Like, yeah, you'll find a couple national people that'll be like, oh, I like Kenny Pickett here. But more or less, most people that you talk to about football, if you ask them about Kenny Pickett, they go, well, we'll see. They're talking about like any other rookie quarterback coming into a second year. Not really like somebody who's about to change the league or anything like that. Baker Mayfield, after his rookie year, man, people were talking about him like he was going to like change the world. Like, it was a national conversation. We forget this, but it was. The hype for Baker Mayfield was far beyond the Cleveland Browns, right? The second they traded for Odell Beckham, that became a national conversation. Kenny Pickett's not a national conversation. So no, I would say that the scope of it is much smaller than the Baker Mayfield hype, especially nationally. The real expectation for the Browns wide receivers. This first one comment is from Don, who says the Browns offense has to make good use of Elijah Moore. This man could be used in the backfield as a catcher. And jet sweeps need for D-Hop is not necessary with so many weapons at Wattson's disposal. I don't understand why we got to go out of our way to say we don't need D-Hop. Like, we could use D-Hop. We could not use D-Hop. I don't think it really, like, I guess there is a war going on in the comment section or on Twitter about this, and people have dug in and started to do that thing to where, like, it's an absolute one way or the other, whether this is a good thing or bad thing. I think most people are, hey, it'd be nice if we could add D-Hop, but I'm not going to be mad if we don't add D-Hop. But as far as Elijah Moore goes, yeah, you can get good use out of him. Again, we're putting a lot on a guy who has not had that breakout year yet, right? We're kind of putting expectations of him as of a star on somebody who's not shown themselves to be a star. We're really hoping he's going to break out. We'll see. We'll see with Elijah Moore. I think it's important to keep that in mind that, he still has some room to grow and to demonstrate that he's grown in that room. So Parker with the next one says, do you think they would use Demetric Felton at all to catch them? No. I don't like Demetric got to make the team, man. What we learned from Brown's mini camp, this comment was from KR, who says, I'm not feeling up or down, but there's been a lot of changes. The players look energized and excited, color me intrigued and motivated to spend more of my attention on the upcoming season. That's a good place to be at. That's a good place to be at. I don't blame you at all for being at that place. Look, the Browns players seem to feel good about what they have in that building. Now, again, not the first time we've thought that. Not the first time the players have thought that. But there is a little bit of a different aura about it, because when you listen to the players talk, the key things that you're hearing are interesting, right? And one of the key things that I've heard from these players are, they're not saying we know what we could be or we know what Deshaun can do. They're saying, yeah, when Deshaun's doing his thing, like he's unstoppable. They're talking about his high level of play in the present tense, not in the past or future tense. So that tells me that they're seeing it a lot more often. And when you see it, you believe it. And when you have that, you know you're going to be good. Again, I use this analogy a lot, but anybody who's played pickup basketball understands what I'm saying, especially if you played a lot of it. It's a different world when you play pickup basketball with your friends and your friends stink and you going up against somebody who's better than you. What your energy is going to be, right? You're going to be pretty defeated. Even if you're not a defeated kind of dude, eventually you're going to feel the inevitability of what's about to happen to you. But if you go to the court and you know you got the best player on the court on your team, all of a sudden you setting them screens. All of a sudden you coming around hard on them post-ups and everything else. Like, you're doing everything you can to help the team win because you know you got a chance to win because you got the best player on the court. Same way with the franchise quarterback. If you feel like your team does not have a franchise quarterback, hey, I'm going to do my job. I'm going to try to help this team win. But you know in the back of your head and consciously, there's only but so far you can go when you don't have a quarterback. But when you feel like you got one of them dudes, all of a sudden it's a lot easier to put in all the work because the goal seems a lot more realistic. Frank said, Mary Kay has been around the Browns for decades, and she commented on how good the coverage was on the receiver. The margin of error was small, and Deshaun was hitting those tight windows consistently with all the receivers. Also, the comments on how much bigger the defense got, all encouraging news. Yes, I would say that the best word that you could describe mini camps with for the Browns this year was encouraging. And look, all 32 teams should and be encouraging at mini camp. Not all are, but all teams should aim for that. And that's the aim. And it's not like a life-changing goal once you achieve it, but they hit the goal, right? They are encouraged by what they saw from Deshaun Watson. They are encouraged from what they saw from the defense. They are encouraged from what they saw from the wide receivers. They are encouraged from what they saw from the size of the players and everything. You should be encouraged at the mini camp, because there has been camps where we've gotten out there and we're like, oh, we stink. We're going to stink. I'm not encouraged. So again, not the end all be all, but you definitely want to pass that test. Right? Like, that's like writing your name right on the test. Like, you got to do it. You can get points for doing it, but you should be able to do it. And they are encouraging. This is encouraging news. You should feel good about this news. But understand there's a lot more work to get done with. That's it for this week's commentary. Y'all have a great day. Have a good